Today on Doomed! Mystery, suspense, comedy, and drama. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode of Doomed will have it all. Because today, we are taking a dive into the last week or so of Donald Trump's life. Ever since he announced that he has the coronavirus. You know, there's been a lot of mystique surrounding it, and he's had a number of misadventures, I guess you can call it. But we're going to break it all down and try to find out, this timeline of when did Donald Trump actually get COVID. And to join me on this episode to investigate, I am very excited to, let me pull us up on the stream here so you can see us. 1 second. I am very excited to introduce Parker Molloy of Media Matters for America. Parker, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I mean, relative to 2020, everything is bad kind of standards, but generally okay.
Right. I mean, yeah, it could be worse. I feel like, I guess you could say that's about anything. Everything could always be worse. But, I guess since around Thursday, more like Friday morning, 1 a.m., I've had like a little glimmer in my eye.
Who knows why?
Yeah. Only.
It's been an interesting several days, hasn't it? I mean, it's just kind of nonstop everything.
I don't even know how. I don't know if there's anything even comparable.
I mean, I don't know. Getting COVID like after doing like the equivalent of like going around licking doorknobs. It's kind of like, come on, man. What do you expect? But he survived. He's out and about, making weird video.
Right. I mean, people have been watching these videos of Trump and thinking they're like green screen videos. They're not. They're actually him like at the White House, but they look so surreal that people assume there must be some sort of special effects being deployed here.
Yeah, they well, especially when you see these like clips of when you see these like clips of people going around like hazmat suits through the White House like spraying the place. It's like, come on, man. How did that happen?
Right.
Oh, it's and who among us can't relate to being on a prescription medication and tweeting way too much. As I mean, there was I was on after I had a surgery several years ago. I was on pain meds, and I wrote an article about how annoyed I was that people kept getting the meaning of the song "Born in the USA" wrong. So it's like that's how I channeled my on drugs kind of energy, and Trump does his thing.
Right. Everyone deals with it in different has a different reaction to it. Some days you wake up and you talk about how much you love everyone and thank you for all the support. And other days you wake up and say that and ponder out loud in front of millions upon millions of people why Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and Barack Obama haven't been arrested yet.
Yeah, while retweeting like 2-year-old tweets.
Right.
That's the funniest part of that, where he's like, why isn't someone doing anything about this? And it was just, he was quote tweeting some, always quote tweets accounts with like 10 followers. And it's like, how did you even find this person?
Right. He's got to be,
it's like,
he's got to be one of those people who, like, when he receives an especially flattering tweet, he clicks the profile and then sees like the recent tweets there. They're like,
yeah.
I mean, that's got to be it. I don't know how else. I mean, unless someone is purposefully like putting tweets aside that they see to show him later. And for some of them, like the QAnon stuff and the red meat sort of really far right stuff he sometimes retweets, I could see someone doing that for him.
Sure. Yeah.
Because,
I definitely there's definitely an element of like curation to what he sees on Twitter from his own side, from like what Dan Scavino does all day. You
Right,
know,
right.
I think that has to do with finding tweets, retweet and stuff. Because God, imagine Trump just going around like dropping into like people's
I'm sorry, you
just being
broke.
like, hey,
Your sound broke up for
oh
one
no.
minute. Yeah, don't worry about it. Just rewind. What did you say?
I was just saying, like, just imagine Trump like actually finding these tweets on his own, popping into people's DMs and just being a total mess.
Right. Yeah.
um,
Could you imagine getting a DM from the president of the United States? I mean, regardless, it is Donald Trump, but could you just imagine
just like, yeah,
seeing the notification and opening it up, and it's just like, yeah, just and
I'd be
there
like, oh
he
no.
is, and he's going, and he's saying that was a great thing you said about me.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate the support. It was funny. That was God. There was one time. There was one time I won't say who it is, but there was I tweeted something, and it was some like weird joke that involved a celebrity who like I had been following, but like didn't think much of it. And they popped it into my DMs just to be like, that was some funny shit. And then just never responded to anything I ever said again. I was like, oh, okay, hi, bye. Um, so, um, but yeah, so I was just thinking the other day, I was reading this, I went back and read this article, from a few years back. It was a Politico article about, oh no, no, the day Trump learned to tweet. It was from 2018. And that was it. And the guy who like who had been handling his social media, he had this funny, um, the funny thing. So basically, so he's saying like
Are
because
you
Trump
talking about?
tweeted
Are you
like
talking about?
thank you.
Are you talking about Justin McConaughey?
Yes.
Because I got to tell you a personal story. Uh,
Oh yeah. Go
I,
ahead.
I went to college with him.
Really? God,
Yes.
that's
and
amazing. That,
and it was a school where you had to like pick like it was an art school, school of visual arts, and you had to pick a major. And like when you picked that major, you were basically in the same classes with everyone in that major who they put you with. So I was in lots of classes with him. Like he wasn't just someone who I saw in the halls. Like I was friendly with him. Uh,
wow,
I, I
that's
I tried to get him to talk with me for this, but he wants to sort of. I mean, we were acquaintances. We weren't like hanging
yeah.
out after, but I tried to get him to talk with me for about all this, and I didn't really. I don't think he really wanted to. But yeah, he
Wow.
continue what you were gonna say because yeah.
Yeah. So this Politico article, I think about it every once in a while. It was yeah, Trump in like 2013 tweeted like thanks to Sherry Shepard for something she said about him on the View, and and then so Justin like sees that, and it says when Trump's young social media manager saw the tweet, he was perplexed. He typically typed and sent Trump's tweets for his boss, but in this case he hadn't. He did recall that Trump had been spending a lot of time in his office playing with his new phone. The next morning, a handful of staffers with access to the boss's account told the social media manager they had not sent it either. That's when it dawned on him. Donald Trump had tweeted on his own for the first time. And then this quote from him, just thinking that this man went on to become president. The moment I found out Trump could tweet himself was comparable to the moment in Jurassic Park when Dr. Grant realized the velociraptors could open door.
I mean, that is literally like that seems
Just
like to
and
be
I
the
mean it's kind of perfect.
perfect. It's perfect.
Right?
It really feels like
Yeah. I mean
that is the moment where
and now he's
what have I
president.
done? Really, is what I would say if I was him. Like like that moment. What have I done?
Mhm.
I mean, to be fair, like
Yeah.
I don't know if first of all, I would have never taken a job like that myself because that's that I as someone who came up in in the punk rock scene, I would have viewed working for someone like Donald Trump as selling out, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But at the same time, like, I wonder if even someone who's okay with, like, all right, I'll work for this real estate asshole or like a
Sure.
finance dick. Like, I wonder if they could have even contemplated what this would have all led to.
Right? It's just the things that get set in motion in really weird ways. I mean, I'm thinking the other day I was thinking about how Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying, like if it was the Amy Coney Barrett, like Rose Garden thing that ended up being the super spreader event, like Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies, and that leads to Barrett getting nominated, and then that leads to like 50 people all getting COVID.
Yeah, it is an incredible turn of events that led us here, isn't
Like
it?
it's
I
just
mean,
this, it's a butterfly effect.
it's almost unbelievable. You couldn't write this. It's just too many. This is a Game of Thrones episode in terms of like the overlapping storylines. It's just like
Well, especially since I yeah, I read another article where apparently the reason they had it in the rose garden and they decorated it the way that they did, um okay, it was because they were trying to recreate the look of how it was set up when uh Ginsburg was nominated. Like they were trying to recreate the whole like ceremony that Clinton had for her as just kind of a way to like rub it in because
I didn't know
people
that.
are children.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I guess it
So like
may.
if you look at pictures, like they had like all these flags around, which it just looks very dated, and that was kind
Right.
of on purpose. So
Ah.
yeah,
I mean, I guess it makes sense, being that they even went ahead and started printing up shirts with the crown on Barrett's head and says
yeah,
the notorious ACB. I mean, notorious for what? Nobody knows who she is.
yeah. Well, for the past like 2 years, anytime like Ginsburg would be in the news for like, oh, she fell or oh, she's in the hospital, um, anything like that. If you did a search for Barrett's name, there were all sorts of people who were like, "Time for Amy Coney Barrett." It's just like, wow, you guys are actual ghouls, you know?
Right. Right.
Like there were people that were constantly, constantly on the like really hoping for her death, and that was that's gross. I make a point of not publicly wishing death on anyone, or I try to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, until recently. Parker, could we just hold for 1 second? Could I call you back? Because I think the Skype
yeah,
connection might be going. So let me just see if a
okay,
refresh of that will fix any of the issues.
sounds good.
All right, 1 second. I'm gonna call Parker right back.
Hello.
Hello. Let's see if this makes it better. We'll only know until when we try. So let's just go ahead and get right back into it. Yeah, I mean, it it is. I keep thinking of that video actually when Trump was first told by the press when he gets off Air Force One after one of his rallies. He's told by the press, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just hearing this now that our RBG
Yeah.
died." She was what a woman, what a woman. I mean,
Yeah.
he really was trying to just hide his glee, to be quite
Yeah.
frank.
Well, and also, like, apparently he was told between like then, but like he pretended that he was just getting the news, which is, so on brand. But like, I guess that like his people were like telling him backstage, like, okay, she just died. They're gonna ask about it. Probably telling him don't do anything stupid. Um, which that was the reason that no one told him during the rally that he was doing because apparently they were afraid that the audience would start cheering or something like that, which would look bad optics. You know.
Yeah, that would have been pretty. I mean, and you know what his reaction would have been? He would have reveled in it. He would have had to. He would have had to
Oh yeah.
lead the chant. He would have saw himself
Mm-hmm.
as, oh, I can't just stand here and let the people like go ahead, my fans, and let them down, my supporters. I gotta. I don't know what he would chant like. Like rest in peace. Like I can only imagine what the.
In the ground. No,
Whoa.
you know, well, within like 2 days, they were selling merch that was just fill the seat, all caps and stuff like that. It was really gross.
Right.
It was before her funeral, and they were still like fill the seat now, which I think we all knew that they were hypocrites on the whole like
Oh,
2016 like, oh, if there's an opening, we wouldn't do that. It's like
absolutely.
we all knew they were just making up rules and stuff as they went along with, but it was so frustrating seeing like mainstream media outlets not grapple with that. Like in 2016, they're like taking these like senators at their word that they're not taking them at their word that like, oh, it's because they believe in a long-standing tradition of blah blah blah, but
Right.
it was obviously just made up,
Right. And
you know.
Trey in the YouTube chat, I think he hits the nail on the head with what the chant would have been. Dig the hole would have been.
Oh my god. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it
it's
would've-
it's you got to have the 3 syllables.
right. Yep.
You got.
Yep. And for anyone who's watching on YouTube, you could drop a super chat in the chat room, and I'll be sure to questions, comments, and I'll definitely read them during the show. But let's jump into that. There seems to be a question as to when Donald Trump actually got COVID. Now, he tells everyone the night of last Thursday. Actually, I'll never forget, because I was doing a show at this time last week, and the show ended about an hour before he tweeted that he was positive he had COVID. And when I was still on the air, the breaking news was the Melania Trump tapes that leaked, where she was basically like,
that.
right, where she was basically like, fuck the kids who are in the immigration detention centers, fuck Christmas, I hate everyone because they think I'm complicit, woe is me. And I thought that was hilarious. Like I saw that as I was on the air, and I played it on the show last minute. I had no idea what to expect. Everyone saw my reaction as I heard it for the first time, and I was just cracking up. And then the show ends, and he announces he got COVID, and I was like, damn it. Like, couldn't that have happened a little bit sooner too? Just to wrap up the perfect show?
Right. God, that would have well, and he the thing that gets me is that so Trump, like, there, because the story came out there, it's like, oh, Hope Hicks tested positive, whatever, and then Trump calls into Hannity that night to be like, yeah, it was probably she was going around hugging and kissing the troops, and like, or like whatever weird stuff that like he was saying. But
Oh, yeah.
at the time, the Wall Street Journal said that he had already gotten a positive test, but he's like, yeah, I don't know how she got.
Right.
And he was just waiting for a second one.
Yeah, he was throwing her under the bus.
Yeah.
I mean, no sympathy for her. You reap what you sow, Hope. But he's ruthless. He will throw anyone under the bus. Listen, Hope Hicks, if you somehow have fallen onto this podcast and have gotten this far to hear us talk about this, just know that he would have done this to his own children too. So really, don't take it to heart.
Maybe not Ivanka.
Maybe not Ivanka, yes.
But literally any of the other ones he would have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
maybe not Barron, but I don't know. Who knows?
He probably
But,
would. He probably would, but Melania would probably swooped in to save him. Like Donald, you leave him alone. He's just a boy, Donald.
It was honestly amazing. Like when someone first posted on Twitter, I was like, because every once in a while someone will share something on Twitter, and it's just so obviously fake that I'm just like, let me look this up. I will post something debunking this. And when someone's like, Melania Trump is on tape saying "fuck Christmas," I was like, okay, who did a Melania impression, and like, how I should go and debunk this, and then they're like, no, it's on CNN, and I'm like, oh, really? And yeah, she's like, Christmas and the kids, and I mean, like, I get the Christmas thing. Like the whole like the duties of the first lady is weird and dated, and you know honestly it's like it's not a necessary job,
Right.
like I think it's cool that like first ladies have like their own like initiatives of be best, or Michelle Obama being a
Healthy
apparently like the
food
worst
advocate.
authoritarian in the history of
Right.
humanity because she wanted kids to eat vegetables. But yeah, but like this like decorate for Christmas, it's like, come on, man, that's not that doesn't need to be a thing.
Right, but at the same time, though, it is just too great. I mean, these are the guys who have been screaming on the top of their lungs for it's been decades now that there's a war on Christmas from the left, and how they don't our Christian values aren't respected, and what's more Christian than the holiday of Christmas? And the decorations and all that beautiful stuff, time with the family, getting into the holiday spirit and season, that all comes along with it. If this was a video of Michelle Obama, or literally anyone who has a D next to their name, regardless of where they are on the ideological spectrum, from like center, like full on moderate centrist Dem, like a blue dog even, to like farthest left you can find, they would be having a shit fit over a leaked tape like that.
Oh yeah, it would still be like the number one story. There would be investigations into it. It would be a whole ordeal.
Right, there'd be
Um,
investigations looking into I guess I don't
into
know, the quality of the decorations at the White House. Maybe like, is the first lady purposely getting substandard decorative wreaths in order to
well,
sabotage Christmas at the White House? Tune in
remember
to Hannity.
remember that in Obama's his first Christmas in the White House, there was like a week of Fox News um talking about like the ornaments on one of the trees, where like it was a tree where like basically people, I guess, in like DC like sent in ornaments, and it went on, and it wasn't even the tree that was in the White House. It was like a tree that was just near the White House, but it had like it was like, oh, it had a Malcolm X or Chairman Mao, or someone who would really like upset like the right, and
Right.
they made a whole ordeal out of it. They were just like, what, they're trying to get rid of Christmas, and they called it a holiday tree. No one That didn't happen either. Um,
I mean, first of all,
there was a quote from Eric.
I gotta find myself this Malcolm X and or Mao ornaments
Yeah,
because I need to
yeah,
buy
which
them.
those two are not the same. I'm gonna Google this. Mount Tree Fox News. Let's see. Let's see
Not
what comes up.
not the
Yeah, there
same,
it
but
is.
not the same. But I definitely want both of those ornaments.
Yeah, so here's this Fox News story from December 24th, 2009. White House Christmas decor uh, featuring Mao comes under fire.
It was
And it's
Mao. I
taken.
gotta find this.
It was Mao.
What
Okay,
was
so
it?
all right, there's a photo. I'm gonna show you guys my screen now.
Oh, it's
So
honestly, while the audio has been good since the new Skype call, the video is still very pixelated. So
yeah, it's not like a great depiction of him, but it's him. Um,
is it like a globe ornament? Is it like one of those like
yeah,
balls?
yeah, and it's just got his face on it.
Is it
And
is it the execution of the landlords? Because if it's portraying that, then I'm all for that one.
no, well, so there's that, and was Oh, there was another one that was a drag queen apparently, and they were
Oh,
those are equally bad in the eyes of Fox News in 2009 and
right,
probably 2020 if we're being
right.
honest.
I mean, if you
But yeah,
ask me, my criticism about that would be the drag queen just didn't execute enough landlords.
but yeah, it was a whole thing, and they got quotes from like five people for this story, which is kind of insane. Um, but yeah, I mean that's I guess Fox for you.
I mean, really, the idea that excuse me, the idea that we were already forgotten about this Melania thing just speaks so much to all this. I mean, I looked up because I wanted to see exactly how many, and this isn't accounting for. I'm not sure when this Politico piece went up, but it is accurate as of Wednesday, October 7th, which is yesterday, but I'm not sure what time yesterday. Okay, yesterday afternoon. I don't know how many more people have been diagnosed at the White House, but so far we got Stephen Miller, which
Thoughts and prayers.
uh, yeah, thoughts and prayers, right? Yeah, I'm not even gonna say that. I gotta, I'm holding back the balloons and confetti. Uh, there's Kayleigh McEnany, which she, by the
Oh, I
way,
forgot that she is. Yeah.
yeah, she, by the way, said earlier this year that the president will make sure that coronavirus never even comes here. So
Yeah.
that went
And
great,
she said it after it was already here,
right?
which is not a good, you're going to lose that bet if you are already taking a position of something that had already happened.
Right. And then we got Kellyanne Conway, and of course her daughter Claudia Conway. Who, listen, I'm not one of those people who think that her daughter is the greatest thing in the world and is should be awarded medals or whatever. But it is quite funny to see her daughter do what she does on TikTok. Just take it for what it is, people. Like, it is just fun to see. And
Yeah.
I don't think she's in on it or this is some ploy by Kellyanne Conway, because honestly, it just makes them look bad. So I don't think this is some like fourth or fifth dimensional chess or something.
Yeah. Good for her. Good for her for whatever she chooses to do. And I don't know. I feel like it's weird the way some people are really invested in, like, they're like, oh yeah, no, she's great. It's like, she's 15. Chill out, man.
Right. I mean,
You know.
it would be interesting when she's older to see where her politics lie, but we gotta wait for that. So just everyone leave her alone and let's let her.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Chris Christie, which we've not heard about Chris Christie, and
No.
he is certainly in a number of categories that makes coronavirus quite dangerous for him.
Yeah, he's well, and also remember when he went to the hospital, it was like, just as a little precaution, like, no big deal. Don't worry about it. It's not.
Something we all
And
do,
then,
right,
like, he
Parker?
just disappears off the face of the planet. It's like, oh man, we're
Right.
gonna have to. This is gonna be a Herman Cain thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I might be, and I mean, of course, we need to also point out, being that you mentioned he just went for precaution, just like Trump apparently did it. People like you and me, we just go to the hospital as a precaution all the time, right? No big
Totally,
deal. Yeah,
totally.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not like financially disastrous to do that or anything.
Right. If I get a paper cut, I go to the hospital and just
Check
make sure
myself
everything's
in for
fine.
a few days.
Yeah, it's not like I'll accidentally saw my finger off and try to tape it up myself and look at it as it's sliding off the tape and going, it's still good, it'll be fine. No, that never happens. Melania Trump, of course, the president's wife, which, I mean, listen, that was bound to happen. That's I feel like if you are a married person and your partner gets it, it's almost assured that you're going to get it as well. Maybe it was surprising for the Trumps, being that I always assume they sleep in separate beds, in separate rooms, in separate wings of the White House, but who knows? Oh, you had a great tweet about this next person, Ronna McDaniel.
Yeah. It's so perfect because her name is like, it could just be Rona McDaniel.
Yeah,
Which, one time on Fox News, she accidentally got called Rona McDaniel. It was months ago, but it's good to. I
right.
don't know. I have all sorts of useless Fox News information in my head.
Right.
which I guess is just kind of something that happens after working at Media Matters for any amount of time.
I sometimes just think back at random moments too, from when when I was on the Majority Report, pulling clips every day for Sam, and certain clips just stick with you. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
throughout the years, you just will never forget them. Uh, Also, we got some campaign people from Trump's 2020 re-election campaign. Of course, a few generals and admirals. No one really that important to the Trump campaign and staff and White House. The administration. And of course, we got some senators: Tom Tillis, Ron Johnson, Mike Lee, who I guess he could blame the drugs for his tweet storm last night
Is
about
anti-democracy tweet storm, which
yeah.
God.
God, I swear to these guys. Uh, and Reverend John Jenkins got it as well. And who else? Didn't the president of Notre Dame get it too? Because he was in that Rose Garden
Yeah,
ceremony.
yeah, yeah. He also got it. So it definitely seems like the, the virus was an uninvited guest at that ceremony. But it's it's like, is that where the things originated? The the f most ridiculous part of this is that Trump then went on, like, he said something about how he thinks he might have gotten it from like Gold Star families or something. It's like, why would you why would you blame them for like, I don't know. It's just he's been making so many weird political decisions,
Cause
between that and like just tweeting out that he was like, we're not going to do any coronavirus aid until after the election. It's like, what? People need that. They're losing their houses and their jobs and stuff.
yeah, I mean, he literally doesn't think. I mean, it's just that simple. It's just number one thing on his mind is whatever he thinks he can say that will abdicate him of any sort of responsibility for something. And that's, I don't know why he thinks that plays well with everyone, but he does think that as well. I don't know. It's just the mind of a narcissist, I guess. Really, that's what it is. I do want to just bring up this really quick before we jump back into Trump, but I was just bringing up the Notre Dame thing, and
Hmm.
there was faculty also at the Rose Garden ceremony. I'm assuming some other faculty members also got tested and came up positive, and they put out a statement the other day about why they were not wearing masks in the Rose Garden, and it was the funniest thing in the world. Like the detachment here, like they wanted to use an analogy, and this is the first analogy they thought of. I don't know if you've seen this, Parker, but let me read this part to you.
I don't think I have.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
let's hear it.
all right, so the faculty members say that the decision not to wear a mask, the decision not to wear a mask stemmed not from politics, but from a desire to politely blend in. As a guest at a cocktail party might remove a tie upon realizing everyone else was dressed in business casual, and they are regretful. I could not believe that was the analogy. In the middle of a pandemic, trying to relate to normal people to explain why we were at this big ceremony at the White House. These they already have. I'm sure they're already aware of the elite, like sort of, idea people have of them as Notre Dame faculty, and they go right to, this is just like if we were at a cocktail party. It's like, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, it's those cocktail parties where they serve up just deadly virus. I, everything everything about I don't know. I just feel like the way that everyone has been handling this on the right generally is it's like, if you wonder why we are where we are, it seems that you could just look no further than this easily avoided situation where it's just like, hey, just wear a mask. The mask will work pretty well. Um,
It's
And then, and I knew that this was where it was going to go. I knew, like, remember when like a bunch of states were like locked down basically, and people were like, let me open up, we'll social distance, we'll wear masks, it's no big deal. And so a bunch of places were like, okay, fine, wear masks, or businesses can have their own mask policy, or whatever. And then a bunch of people were like, I shouldn't have to wear masks. Just like, you keep moving those goalposts. The truth is that all the people who are like, I just want to be able to get my hair cut or make a living, or whatever they were complaining about, um, which were fair complaints, uh, not the haircut thing. But it's like, those are fair complaints. But then, like, they were like, but I have to do anything different. And it's like, yeah, you have
right.
to do something different. A few things here and different. None of us are excited about this. I am not. There's this weird idea that people on the left are super amped up about the pandemic. That
Right.
that we're just like, hell yeah, get to stay in, binge watch TV, uh,
I always want.
and like,
I always wanted
like we
my
don't have
5 year.
jobs.
I always wanted my 5-year-old to stay home from school for months on end. I love it.
Yeah,
It's really,
it's
it's yeah. And here's an interesting thing though, and I'm glad you brought this up. In New York City, where I am, you know, we obviously were hit the hardest first, but then people here really, for the most part, wear masks and social distance, and we're fine with eating outside. And it really was not such a big thing here. Of course, you see people every now and then trying to be rebels, or they're Republicans. But for, like, literally, I would say like 90% people here wear masks, social distance, and are careful about things. And we're now like one of the examples of how to do it. And here's the interesting thing: recently, you might have heard in the news, and I forget which local blog or news site did this, and I apologize to whatever reporter put this together. I'll find the link and I'll drop it in the YouTube description, so to make up for it. But I was recently reading something, and you may have heard that there are certain areas in Brooklyn and Queens that have suddenly had coronavirus spikes.
yeah,
And Cuomo and De Blasio have been trying to formulate some sort of plan. The two of them hate each other, so of course that never works out well. But they've been trying to formulate a plan to deal with it. And this reporter at one of these local sites did the work and found out that there is an overlap between those areas and how they voted for Trump in 2016 and them having the
I
coronavirus
saw that.
spike. It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, again, we're talking about, like, this is New York City. It overwhelmingly votes Democrat. But if you look at any of these maps for how 2016 was, there were areas that Trump did win, and they are completely overlapped with these areas that are spiking with coronavirus cases.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's so that kind of, falls into sort of, my sort of area of expertise with, the Fox Newsverse. Um, like, from the start of the pandemic, Fox kind of threw everything at the wall, hoping to find some sort of coherent message to give Trump a free pass on this, basically, to be like, no, it's not a big deal, it'll pass. It's like, yeah, you can count on um, things just passing by and not being a big deal, and it's possible it could have happened, but it didn't. And a lot of people were saying you need to take this seriously. Um, but the way Fox covered this, and the way a lot of right wing media covered this from the start, was by downplaying it and saying, "Oh, Hannity had this graphic on screen, and I'll never forget it. It just said U.S. deaths from coronavirus 0." And it was some day in February he had that, and it was on the screen, and he was just being really smug about the whole thing, being like, look, all these people that die from car accidents, and you're not banning cars. Well, it's like, well, first off, car accidents aren't contagious, and second, I mean, we do all sorts of things to try to reduce those. We have seat belts and we have safety regulations, you know. So, but with this, we're still figuring it out. And obviously, as those numbers change, Fox hasn't exactly, you know, no one owned up to it and said, "Whoops, got it wrong." They just kind of shifted their messaging with it. Um, but things like masks, I mean, have became politicized not just because of Trump, but because of Fox and because of, you know, right wing news outlets like Breitbart or Gateway Pundit and Daily Caller, all those things. You know, it's if you watch a lot of their coverage or read a lot of their coverage, there were a lot of like posts just mocking people who were wearing masks or mocking people who were taking social distancing seriously. You know, it was this attitude of like, oh, we can't let the virus win. We can't
Right.
let it dominate our lives, as Trump said the other day.
Right. They're treating
You know,
they're
it's
treating
and
this like it's
which is I understand that sort of mentality. Yeah, like it's
they're
not like 9/11 or something.
yes, yeah, exactly. It's they're treating this like there is like an actual like a physical being, like another human, like the coronavirus is a person, and they gotta show the coronavirus they won't stand for it, like the coronavirus cares or something. Like if anything,
Yeah.
it would be if the coronavirus had a thought like a human being, the coronavirus would be quite happy that they weren't listening to these rules
Yeah.
and trying to stick it to him or her. And the coronavirus would be like, yeah, please show me who's boss.
Yeah. Well, and the way I kind of like whenever I hear someone talking like that, which that was, you know, that was kind of a big like Hannity talking point, which of course it was because Hannity is a kind of a lumbering oaf. Um and so he this idea that it's just like, no, go out there and live your life. You can't hide away forever, blah blah blah. And it's like none of us want to hide away, but it's sort of like if I'm like, if you're camping with someone and you're like, okay, we can't go to sleep until this fire's out because the fire is dangerous if it's there. And someone's like, I won't let this dominate my life. And they just keep putting firewood on it. And you're like, what the fuck? Stop
Yeah.
putting wood on the fire. You're just fueling it. And that's the same thing with this, like, you know, I mean, had we not had this situation where, you know, people were not following even the most basic sort of ideas, you know, of safety. You know, it's like who knows where things would be right now. You know, it's
Right.
impossible to tell, but they'd be better than they are.
Right. And
You know?
you would think once it enters the White House, they would want to at least, take it seriously for themselves to show that they have a handle on things, but they couldn't even bring themselves
No.
to do that. I don't mean like, oh, they needed they got a wake up call and they changed their no I'm not even saying that. I'm saying for their own optics, they still would have believed everything they believed about the coronavirus, but they would have been like, listen, we got a case here in the White House and we're showing that coronavirus who's boss, and we're nipping it in the bud and stamping it out, and it won't get past that one person, instead of just them letting it spread to everyone from the president of the United States to the White House janitor.
Yeah. You know, I like it. It's amazing how much they seem to have opposed like changing anything about how they interact. You know, it's like the testing that they had. That's good. The you know testing everyone every day constantly, except for apparently Trump wasn't being tested every day, which they said he was, and then he wasn't. Now
Do
we
you
don't
think?
know.
Do you think
Uh,
he had it when he showed up for that debate last week with Joe Biden? That's the question. I think. I mean, I don't.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. That it seems to be for one. It is quite. It is quite interesting how Trump was the only person who showed up too late to the debate that day to get tested. And we
Right.
didn't find that out till after that Trump wasn't tested. How they even let the debate continue
Yeah.
without testing him is beyond me, to be quite frank.
Yeah. I mean, there's this idea that rules don't apply, and oh, rules don't apply to us, and that's why you can see, Trump throwing these rallies with all these, thousands of people, and even in states where they say like gatherings of 50 people are not allowed, or whatever, and you go, no, don't worry, it's a peaceful protest, because mocking that. But yeah, I mean, I don't I I don't think we'll ever find out whether or not he had it prior to the debate, or if he knew he had it prior to the debate. I think that a lot of it comes down to the fact that he just, you know, pretty clearly does not want to, does not like getting tested. I mean, he resisted it for a while. I mean, after there was like a state dinner, I think with Bolsonaro here, in March, and like two or three people who were on that trip ended up like testing positive, and Trump was like, I don't need to take a test. And people
Right.
are like, are you sure? I think that you look at the diagram of the thing where it's like sticking a thing up your nose, and it's like, does he seem like the kind of guy who is like amped up to do that several times a day? No.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
um,
I'll never forget
you know,
that. I'll never forget that dinner because there's a clip online of my buddy the late Michael Brooks cracking up hearing about Bolsonaro getting getting COVID, and then he's told on air that he had a dinner with Trump right before. And he just literally is like falling off his chair. It's a great clip. Everyone should go and check that clip if you haven't already seen it. But yeah, it is. Let's get to the hospital stay, because this to me is like the dude
yeah.
is like heaving and hawing, trying to get his breath. Obviously, in any of those clips where he's going to the hospital, and the clips when he's apparently cured and leaving the hospital, we're told throughout his stay by his team of 9 doctors that nothing is wrong and everything is great. We're told also that everything is so wonderful and great that he's being fed a cocktail of experimental drugs, and there's so many
That's
different.
generally the first thing. The first thing you do if like you have an experimental drug is you test it on the president of the country.
Right, yeah, and
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
fact that you would test multiple different ones too. Like the idea that maybe there is some like, and conspiracy theorists have thought this about various diseases throughout whenever. So the idea is out there that like, oh, there is this like pharmaceutical company that has like the cure drug for insert here. And the idea that like the president would go in and get that drug and be cured, okay, that's not so crazy to me. But the idea that they brought him in and gave him multiple different drugs to figure out which one would work is kind of hilarious. I'm sorry. Because things are
Yeah.
bad when they got to do that. I mean, you wouldn't
Yeah, when they're
even.
just like just throw everything. But one thing that's interesting is they did not none of the drugs that were used, hydroxychloroquine.
Right,
For all the promotion that he did for it, he was not that was not one of the drugs that was used. And
right,
it seemed, I kind of feel like if you publicly like go around telling people that like, hey, this drug is like a miracle cure, if you get sick, you should have to use that drug.
right,
You know, I mean, like I feel like that at very least they should have to try it on you. But
right.
I mean, I guess it's almost a good. It's better that he didn't, because if he did that and then he got healthy, then people would be like, see, it works, even if it was something else that got him healthy.
Well, from what I
But
understand, here's my take about how he's feeling right now. I believe that he's hopped up on steroids and various other drugs that will make him temporarily feel better. Also, this from everything I've read and heard from people who've had this, and in articles I've read from medical experts who've seen people have this, a lot of people get coronavirus, are completely fine, and then start to display symptoms. They go in, they get checked out, they get taken care of, they leave. They think they're out of the woods, and then all of a sudden, there is literally like a second wave inside your own body, and you're hit even worse than the first time. If I was of the president's age and various other different things that make him a prime vector or candidate for coronavirus complications, then I would definitely be worried about that second wave of complications coming up. Because who knows? That could quite well happen in the
Yeah.
next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I mean obviously like he is safer than most people given that he is the president and surrounded by people constantly. So if he gets sick, he will be back in the hospital as soon as he needs to be. So it's like so you've got that where while like most of us would struggle to get admitted to a hospital and then get checked out, it's like all these things he gets to kind of go to the front of that line. Did you see the room that he was staying in that hospital is nicer than any place I've ever slept in. I
Right, right.
mean, like
His
I want to move into the presidential suite at Walter Reed. Like
right.
I would be happy with that.
Right, and he was
But
complaining about
yeah,
it.
it's
It wasn't as glamorous as he would have preferred. It seems. But this
yeah,
drug,
not enough gold-plated things, I guess.
right, this glove that he this excuse me, this drug, this glove. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. It's this whole past couple of weeks. It felt like a fever dream. But this drug that he's now talking up, Regeneron. Apparently, it
Mhm.
gives you like antibodies or something like that, and then his doctor tests him either today or yesterday and comes out and says it's a miracle. Trump's
He has
body has developed antibodies in a miraculous, like, quick time. Like, we've never seen anything like this before. So I saw someone explain it like this on Twitter, and it is too great. Literally, someone said, it's like if you say this person doesn't have a banana, and then you hand them a banana, and then you go, holy shit, this person has a banana.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, that's kind of yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, I like I was glad that I wasn't the only one who noticed this. Because sometimes before I tweet something, I'm like I should do a little search in the search bar to make sure I'm not like stealing someone's joke or observation or something. And so I typed in like the name of the doctor, which Conley. I typed in Conley and then Glenn Greenwald, and apparently like there are like hundreds of people who are like he looks exactly like Glenn Greenwald, and he does. And
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. There's
yeah.
definitely a resemblance.
There is. So, when watching that, in watching him speak, I just think of him also just like adding in things, be like, ah, people are too woke, like or whatever Greenwald does these days. uh, uh,
I've had this for like, honestly, for the past 2 weeks. I've had this like allergy cough. Like, I feel like a tickle in the back of my throat. And whenever I go anywhere and I like let out a cough because it's like I can't help it, I'm like, oh my god, everyone thinks I probably am sick with coronavirus or something like that. It's like that's one of the weird like things about living in this time too. Like, you cannot have it. Like, I know I don't have it because I'm not. I mean, I could have it and be symptomless, I guess, but then I wouldn't be coughing over it. But I walk around and I think, man, if I cough, people are gonna think I have this because everyone thinks that is so like worried about this, and it makes sense. Well, everyone's so worried about this apparently, except the Trump administration and Republicans. What was I going? Oh, there's a question for you here specifically in the super chats here on YouTube. Let me
sure.
get to that. So Randy Rosa with a super chat. Thank you, Randy. And Randy asks, "Hey Parker, I'm a huge fan of your work. What do you think has been the biggest improvement in the media's coverage over the last 5 years?"
Ooh, that's interesting. That is an
Yeah.
interesting question. It's a good question.
Is there
Well,
anything even?
I think that I think there has to be something. I think there are a lot of areas where things have stayed exactly the same, and it eats at me. The fact that I feel like in a situation with like the Comey letter, where it's like, don't turn that into a story better, or like any of the, like after the Access Hollywood tape came out in 2016, and then like an hour later, like WikiLeaks was like, "Hey, we've got more emails. Check them out." It's like that was very clearly meant to like eat up some of the news cycle, and like there was the Podesta emails that were there was nothing really in them, but it was like, "Hey, new emails. I guess that's a story,"
Excuse me,
which so they
Parker.
covered it. And
Excuse me, Parker. The Podesta emails
risotto recipes.
uncovered a entire trafficking ring in the basement of a pizza place. Just like how Pee Wee
Yes.
Herman discovered his bike in the basement of the Alamo in Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
So yeah. I mean, aside from the uncovering the worldwide cabal of baby eating satanic politicians, that aside, but it's like people kind of just ran with it, and I guess that kind of is like another one of those butterfly effect things where it's just like John Podesta clicks a phishing link or something, and now we have people entering Congress who think that Democrats eat babies. Yeah, every small thing leads to a big thing.
And this is
But
gonna
I think one thing that's
this is gonna go on too. Not to interrupt that question, but you brought it up, and I can't help but just point out. You know this because I know you know this because I've had people from Media Matters on this show. Actually, Angelo came on the show to talk about the QAnon Congress people. Uh,
yep.
This is going to be really something that sticks around. Even if Trump is out in November and loses and he leaves office in January and they don't find a way to finagle their way into cheating, the QAnon stuff and the Trump support and the far right fringe movements and the militias that are trying to kidnap the governor of Michigan. These people are not going away. In fact, they're probably going to be louder than ever before.
It's yeah, it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
If he's in for a shitstorm. I mean, like that's because the world is just kind of become this disinformation sphere. But one place I think that media generally has improved a little bit on, I think that there is a better understanding of how to them a long time to figure this out, but how to report on what the president says. And just just recently, just in the past like week or two, I saw articles that said like or today I saw a quote that was like Trump saying like, "I don't think I'm infectious," or "I don't think I'm contagious," said Trump, who is contagious. It was like, good. You didn't just parrot him. I've written a bunch of stories about this, and it happens. It still happens a lot where people just quote him and leave it out there without correcting it. But there are some places that I think are starting to get it, are starting to understand the way you talk about things, especially online in print, matters. The headlines matter, and you can't just have a headline that's misleading and think, well, the article itself clears this up. That's just not how it works. I mean, most people don't click through to articles. Most people read the headlines and share it on Twitter or Facebook, and all they know about a story is what's in the headline or what photo goes with it. But I think that you're starting to see more places kind of acknowledge that they have to be better with this sort of stuff. The New York Times just I think this week started adding, for old stories, if you share it on Twitter, it says the year it was published now, which is helpful because like when there are a lot of times where people share like an article from 3 years ago and they're like, "This is a scandal," and you're like, well, look at the date.
Right.
But now all their articles automatically just say 2019 or 2018 or whatever
Right.
year, which is super helpful, I think.
Right.
So I think that that's improved, but really I think that improvement is driven by people who speak up. I mean, one reason that Republicans kind of get their way and conservatives get their way on a lot of media things, the saying that Facebook has an anti-conservative bias, even though like 8 of the top 10 stories every single day are from far right Facebook pages.
Oh,
They'll still say that.
the top five today were all from Dan Bongino.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I can't say
exactly.
that, and I can't say that name without thinking of that. What's his name? Nick,
God,
the
Nick, let's go.
Nick Let's Go song. I want to
Yeah,
go to the RNC. I
I
want to
listen.
see
So
with Dan
his
Bongino.
yeah, his songs are just I I love them all. They're so his songs are great. And back when he did those during the 2016 election, he did the emo Trump ones where he turned Trump's tweets into emo songs,
Right.
which was great. But
The indie
yeah,
Alex Jones one is really good too. The indie
yeah.
rock Alex Jones one, yeah.
Yeah,
Ah,
but yeah, or there's the QAnon song that he has where he's like, Donald Trump looks like wet ass because he doesn't drink baby blood or something.
right.
Uh, yeah,
Fu-
where
funny
he's
en-
like he,
Funny enough,
which
his best one I think is that most recent one, the Spirit one.
yeah,
That
Spirit House. They're so
it,
catchy.
Yes, and the great thing about that one is that it seems like it's gonna be just a completely he put out a non political number out there,
Yeah,
not involved in any of this stuff, but then all of a sudden in the
it's like
end,
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos murdered Sears, and it's like, oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's
This
like
makes
yes,
it even better. Yes.
it's pretty good. No, he's like one of the few bright spots on Twitter now. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so what I was saying about like Facebook is that like conservatives will say like Facebook is biased against us, and they'll say this straight face. They'll be like, no, seriously, a post of mine didn't only got 2,000 shares or something like
Yeah.
something ridiculous that I couldn't even dream of ever
Right.
getting on Facebook, even though. I don't I haven't updated my Facebook page, like the professional page I have, for like a year. So it's not a good place to get any information, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like they'll go in there and they'll be like, Facebook is biased, and they'll be very loud about it and they'll be very vocal about it. And like obviously Facebook knows that they're not censoring far right voices or anything like that, but they cave and they just want people to be quiet, and it's the same thing that Twitter does this too. Twitter doesn't want to have to deal with the headache of Charlie Kirk going on Fox and Friends every morning and being like, Twitter silenced me and blah 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 blah, or Trump tweeting about it. Like they just go, okay, fine, we'll just give you whatever you want. Like Charlie Kirk's gotten like Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk, they got caught twice in the past like month running like troll networks, which is totally against Facebook and Twitter rules. But while Twitter got rid of all the accounts that were part of the troll network, they didn't get rid of Turning Point USA or Charlie Kirk, who were
Right.
running them. It's like if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to stop their accounts, you're not really punishing them in any way. You're just taking their troll network offline.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think that one of the things that a lot of people are starting to do is I think there are a lot of people who are just kind of sick of everything. The way that media coverage generally, showing empty podiums in 2016. I haven't seen a lot of empty podiums this time around. I
Uh,
think
to,
networks have. I
to,
mean, there's some.
yeah, but also not to give them too much credit, haven't been a lot of opportunities for that during a pandemic.
That's also true.
Yeah.
And I think that
I mean,
while you
they did show that live feed of the Walter Reed doors right before Trump, waiting for Trump to exit the hospital cured of coronavirus faster than any person on the face of the planet.
he had a chance to win my vote. I tweeted about it. I said like if he did the Willy Wonka like dive with the walking stick, like I would run down do an early vote in person and pop on my Make America Great Again hat, which I don't have.
You would buy
Um,
one.
I would buy one. I would, sure, absolutely. But he didn't do it. So,
What I
sad to say, I have to think long and hard about policy views on things.
what I love about that video actually when he's leaving, it's very. I don't know if a lot of people notice this because it's sort of subtle, but if you're walking down a flight of stairs and you're sick and you grab a handrail, I get it. You need to hold the handrail to safely go down the stairs. But Trump didn't hold the handrail as if he needed its help. Here he is with a very contagious bug, a virus, and he's patting every single centimeter of the handrail for no apparent reason. Just like a little coronavirus for you, a little COVID-19 here. Just you get COVID, you get COVID.
Sprinkling.
It was completely pointless for him to spread it all over that handrail.
God, in February, the last public speaking thing I did was at the end of February, and by then I was already really worried about this virus, and so like I went into this like giant convention center where there was a panel that I was on, and I was like, I'm not going to touch anything the whole time, and I was like very careful. I was not looking at anything, not touching anything, because I was afraid of the virus. But yeah, Trump's like,
I was just like, no care at all about even the slightest of things. Like, all he
no,
do is walk down the stairs like he normally does, hands by his side. But no, he just
yeah,
wanted to. He played the drum like you just showed. He played the drums on going down the entire handrail.
yeah.
It was just unbelievable. Now, do you
It's
think?
I
Do you
mean,
do you think there's a few people who almost certainly have to have it, but have not tested positive yet? Do you think Giuliani and Pence and I don't know if there's anyone else I'm forgetting? Do you think they have it? I mean, maybe Giuliani doesn't because he's another life form
yeah.
it seems. But
Yeah, Giuliani, like so the funny thing is Giuliani, anyone who texts it, he'll respond to anyone who texts him.
I'm
I
gonna have to
forgot like
text him.
a bunch of people got his number at one point, and he and like I forgot who someone I follow on Twitter was like, "Hey Rudy, what'd your test come back?" And he's like, "Negative." It it's like what? Why did you like? Why are you answering random people asking you about your like what's going on in your medical history? But so I don't think Giuliani has it, but like I don't know, Pence might.
He did not
I
look good
it's
yesterday.
no, he didn't, and I don't want to like,
Speculate, right? Yeah.
attribute too much to it, speculate too much. But yeah, he had like his eye was looking all weird. I mean, but, if remember in the primaries, Biden showed up to a debate once, and I was just like filled with blood.
Right. It was quite disturbing, really.
And it was like, oh no, like oh god. But
Surprise,
yeah,
surprisingly, Biden's body has, thankfully too, Biden's body has held it together in these since.
yeah.
He's been looking pretty good. I mean, I thought his debate performance was lacking, but
Yeah.
thankfully Trump's was so ridiculous that he ended up looking good actually.
Yeah, I honestly don't know if it's possible to successfully debate Trump. In 2016, Clinton debating Trump, like it worked. She had like her talking points, and some of them felt a little forced, but some of them were very good. But God, what was that? Trumped up trickle down. I hate I that goes through my head like
Yeah.
constantly, and I'm just like I can't tell if I hate that or if it was good or but whatever the case, there was one point where she got under his skin asking about his taxes in the first debate, where he's like, where she was like, maybe he doesn't pay any taxes at all, and that's when he like jumped in and interrupted her, and it was like, now we see that you don't.
Yeah.
Um, but like this time around, he is just relentless, and he's just jumping in. Uh, he's so over the top with his interruptions. He's like Alec Baldwin's SNL version of Trump, which is, like to try to take all where he just jumps in constantly after every other word, basically.
Right. He's he's
And
he's flailing. He's seeing everything's falling apart around. And again, I don't want anyone to take this as he's going to lose. We do not. I mean, we really don't know. Who knows anymore? I mean, the polls aren't looking good for him, and that's clearly affecting him. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's how it's going to unfold on election day.
right.
But he's clearly,
we've played this game before.
right. Yes. Fool me once, shame on whatever Bush said. I can't even remember his.
Can't get fooled again.
There you go. Yeah. Kim on Periscope says Giuliani could get it from Miller. It has now crossed species. I mean, it seems to be the case that, these guys, listen, if they're all in the same room like they've been, and there's been multiple, we brought up the Rose Garden, but we also didn't bring up that there were a number of people who were in debate prep rooms for Trump's first debate. And it seems like literally all of them, except Giuliani, have gotten it. I mean, I don't know what Giuliani was doing. Maybe he was the only person in there wearing a mask. Who knows?
Maybe he was taking hydroxychloroquine and it protected.
Right, and
yeah.
Who knows?
I'm kind of amazed at the fact that like Fox and Trump and Giuliani, like they're still pushing this idea that Biden is like they're like, oh, he's just trying to show off by wearing a mask, or like he doesn't understand he doesn't understand this because he hasn't gotten the disease yet. It's like, it's not something to brag about. I mean, it's like
that reminds me
you
of
should try to avoid it.
Right. That reminds me of that meme that I think that's like all these Zoomers are like running with now. Someone was like, was it Tommy Lauren who was like, who tweeted a picture of Biden wearing a mask and was like, why don't you carry a purse to go along with it? And there's all these TikTok videos I've seen now with the same joke. And there's some of them that are pretty funny, but the joke is like, hey fellas, does wearing a mask make you gay or something like that? It's like, what is that? Like, listen, just wear the goddamn mask. It means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. Just wear it when you go out. It's not so hard to do.
Well, and like the thing about that just fries my brain is this, people will be like, oh, Biden is virtue signaling. Oh, this is virtue signaling. It's like setting a good example. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like it's like, here's the thing, like if Trump wants to, like, a leader thing to do is to take precautions that you don't need to demonstrate to other people that they should take them, like wearing a mask more in public, but when, like, if you remember, there was the press conference where Trump was like first saying like, oh yeah, the CDC recommends wearing a mask now, and he added, and I guess it wasn't in his prepared remarks, but he was like, I'm not going to do it, it's optional. And why would you do that? Like, why would you like signal that, like, oh, I'm not gonna do this thing, it's totally fine? But they and then he made fun of Biden for wearing the biggest mask I've ever seen. Like, what does that even mean?
That might have been my favorite Trump line ever, because it really
it's but he's like, I mean, he did that, and then he got it, and you would think, okay, well, at least they have to back off the like making fun of him for a mask thing. Nope. I mean, it's.
If you were Trump, you think the play would be to go out there and get an even bigger mask. Look, my mask is bigger than yours. But no, these guys just don't. The idea that this was really funny yesterday with the Pence Kamala debate when Pence. The question was about, and Kamala didn't bring this up, which sort of bothered me, but whatever. The question was something like the White House's response to the coronavirus pandemic, was it adequate? And it's like, if the virus is spreading all throughout the White House, then no, that's like the one place where you think they would be able to not like have it spread. Like that'd be the most highly secure place. And if they can't even do that, then no, it's not an adequate response to the pandemic.
Yeah, it's There was another moment in the debate which either speaks really, I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it, but there's when Pence was asked like, so hey, your administration's in court trying to sue to have the entire ACA knocked, like ACA like invalidated, and but you say you want to protect pre-existing conditions. Specifically, how would you do that? And then he goes and it starts talking about abortion, and then he goes, and on that topic, are you going to expand the court? And then has the absolute audacity at the end of this to be like, let the record show that she did not answer the question. And it's like, first off, you're not the one who's supposed to be asking the questions. And second, it was your question. It was your
Right, right.
question that
Which
you
you
didn't
didn't
answer.
answer. Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
Exactly.
felt like I was going crazy watching that because
Right. And
I was like,
honestly,
is he a genius for doing this, or is he just like, what is going on?
honestly though, if she, to me, that was the most disappointing moment for me when she didn't bring that up, because if she had pointed that out, I think that would have been the moment of the debate. I think
Yeah.
people would have been like, oh, like
Like,
that would have
oh,
been
they
like
don't
the
have
one.
a plan.
Like, instead of people talking about a fly landing on Pence's head, I think they would have been talking about the moment where Kamala literally shut down Pence and owned him. Like, that would have been a real, strong moment. But
Yeah.
luckily, only people like you and me who have political brain rot realize these things, and regular people just listen to what she
It was
actually
just like,
says, not what she didn't say. And what she said was good for the most part. I wasn't happy about the banning fracking stuff, and the Green New Deal. I mean, listen,
yeah.
if they're gonna
I mean,
connect, my take is if they're gonna connect you to this stuff anyway, then defend it.
just lean into it.
Like lean into it and explain to people why this stuff is good. Because if you back off from it, then you're basically saying that it is bad, and they'll continue to attack you for it, because they won't care about your actual policy position. But if you actually
Yeah.
convince people that this stuff is good, then that attack literally will then mean nothing. Like, it just won't work.
Yeah. I mean, I think generally speaking, debates are like just useless. You should not be getting your understanding of where candidates stand on any particular issue in a debate.
Are
I
you
mean,
calling out Ken Bone,
I
Parker?
understand people
Are
do
you
it.
are you calling out Ken Bone?
What was that?
Are you calling out Ken Bone right now?
Ken Bone. Oh, yeah.
I I I,
He was very sad that people got upset with him.
I can't believe what a weirdo that votes for Hillary Clinton in 2016, but then can't bring himself to vote for Biden.
Right?
That's the real.
It's
My take is that he's just the ultimate feminist. He wanted to vote for a woman candidate each and every time, and that's why he voted for libertarian candidate Joe Jorgensen this time around.
Oh, God, he had one of those accounts on that, that Cameo website where you could pay like
Yes.
celebrities. I I went through and watched because like they post like the videos that they do as they do them, and his were always like the saddest ones. It was like, "Hey guys, Ken Bone here, Bone Zone," stuff like that where it would be like, "Hey, wear the sweater that you were wearing," and it'd be like July, and he'd be like, "I'm wearing the sweater."
Right, but my question is, I mean, good for him for finding a
Yeah,
grift, but I mean, who is
yeah.
buying this stuff? Like, I get
I
the cameos for like the rando like B move like Z list celebrities and stuff. Like, yeah, if they're like in a cult classic film, like, it's fun if you're a big fan and people who are big fans. There's people who like grab like funny celebrities or people to like record like a promo for their podcast or whatever. That I totally get. But
sure.
What is Ken Bone gonna bring you? Like, what is he gonna give you? Like, who cares
Yeah,
about Ken Bone?
I'm surprised at like the level of like how minor a celebrity, or not even a celebrity, it'll be like someone who's like a journalist at like, and it's like, why are the come on, like who's doing that? Like, I got an email that was just like, hey, like asking if I wanted to join, and I was just like, no. No one in their right mind would pay me to make a video for them, or nor should they.
Actually, I think
You
you
know?
could have done it and probably made a good amount of money making videos like this. Hey, Parker Molloy here. I'm telling all of you to go listen to the Tim Pool Show on YouTube.
Yeah, like that's the thing. I would always be afraid of saying something really stupid. I mean, being tricked into saying like something. I
I mean,
one of the
Tommy.
guys who
No,
works for
go
the
ahead.
Biden campaign got one of the guys who works for the Biden campaign paid bought a cameo from Corey Lewandowski, so Trump's like first campaign manager, like encouraging, encouraging Joey, who was preparing for a big presentation, and like he posted on Twitter right before the like debate, and it was funny because it was like you'll go out there and get him, Joey,
Right,
and it's
right,
like okay, like that's funny getting
right.
tricked into saying like
But
something,
at the same time
yeah,
though, you paid him. Like you gave him money.
exactly,
Like
yeah,
I
which
get it for like the personalities who don't really mean anything. Like, if you want to throw $30 or whatever she charges, like to fucking Tommy Lauren. I mean, she's not gonna go ahead and use that for like she's gonna like use it for some personal shit. Like she's gonna use it to like go out to dinner or whatever. She's not gonna like use it to, but like to send it to Corey Lewandowski or someone like actual like a political operator who works in the campaign world, like,
yeah.
that to me that's a step too far.
Yeah, well, that's like when I'll hear people be like, "Oh, well, we bought an ad on Fox to troll them or something." It's like you just gave them a bunch of money, like
Now I see it though, because I'm actually someone who thinks that's a little bit different because of the audience Fox has. I think
yeah.
the trade off might be worth it, but I don't think there's any trade off there for Corey Lewandowski.
No, no, he's just kind of awful generally.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
you know,
it's not like I'm gonna pay Corey Lewandowski, but he's also got this huge die-hard fan base that's gonna possibly like listen to what he's got to say, and we might be able to win over a few of them. No, that's
uh,
not.
uh, so on the topic of Trump campaign managers, there was a there was a story that I totally missed. And because it came out was yesterday. Yeah, it came out yesterday about let me see. Yeah. It's the headline in New York Post is Brad Parscale cried during arrest, told officers his wife won't have sex with him. And the photo that goes with this is hilarious.
It's like
He's
him in the.
he's yeah, he's like handcuffed getting into a car without a shirt. It's it's amazing, but at the same time, it's like, what happened to this man?
Right. I mean, this guy, he should really be happy though after the week we've just seen. I mean, he dodged a bullet. All this went down, and he avoided getting coronavirus. It seems he would have been in
Yeah,
those rooms. He would have been right there at the ground zero of the White House COVID-19 outbreak.
yeah. He did avoid that. But I'm not sure he wanted to have cried during arrest, told officers his wife won't have sex with him.
Right.
Like that's probably not the headline he was hoping for
Now
in the paper.
my question is, how did this get out? Because listen, cops would leak this shit, of course. But we all know that cops are, for the most part, diehard Trump supporters.
Yeah.
So that means my guess is that the Trump campaign wants to throw him under the bus, and they pulled some favors with the cops who were there to leak this shit. Because that's my guess. Not to get conspiratorial, but how this was covered at first was very easy and light on Brad. Like
Yeah.
it was like, oh, he had a mental breakdown. He was a poor guy was threatening to commit suicide, which well obviously
Yeah, it's like
people go through that
you don't want
stuff. It's very sad. But then later on, it somehow comes out that he was beating his wife, and he had first pulled out the gun to threaten her. It's like, that wasn't in the original story.
Yeah, yeah, that was kind of weird. I mean, not weird, but I mean, horrible. But yeah. Oh, apparently this was from body camera footage. So he's on footage saying this. So
Ooh,
apparently, but yeah, it's
let's
kind of
leak that
amazing how.
tape.
Um, but yeah, I just couldn't accept it. Not in months. I couldn't accept it. I just kept asking her. The 44-year-old said, "It's like that's weird and sad,
Wait, so
and also."
his story. I didn't. I thought he was just like talking about why life was so hard, but there's additional information, like and why,
No.
like rattling off all the things that's going wrong in his life. But being that he's so focused on this one thing, the fight was over his wife not having sex with him.
Yeah.
That's
What I'm
that's
reading here, 'cause, yeah,
embarrassing.
he says I just couldn't accept. She isn't having sex with me. Pascal sobbed to a female police officer. That detail is
Oh my!
extra. Like I don't know. Um,
Don't
but
you,
yeah, I
babe?
think after this, I'm gonna end up watching that video.
Babe, don't you know who I am? I'm
Oh,
Trump's digital guru.
my Death Star. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I mean,
god.
tough work setting up all those like targeted ads where with like Nazi imagery and stuff,
Right,
as he does,
right,
and making sure that Mark Zuckerberg has a all the money in the world to profit off of hate.
right.
You know,
Yeah. To leave it on this, I think the perfect encapsulation of everything we've been talking, everything we've covered here. Have you seen this recent tweet storm from Trump that went out right as we went live?
no, I
He
didn't.
he basically, with the news of today, was that the FBI federal agents basically arrested something like a dozen individuals for plotting to kidnap the Governor Whitmer of Michigan. And Trump is, as of 9:30 p.m., went on a tweet storm attacking Governor Whitmer. Governor Whitmer of Michigan has done a terrible job. She locked down her state for everyone except her husband's boating activities. No idea what he's talking about there. The federal government provided tremendous help to the great people of Michigan. My Justice Department and federal law enforcement announced today that they foiled a dangerous plot against the governor of Michigan. Rather than say thank you, she calls me a white supremacist. While Biden and Democrats refuse to condemn Antifa, anarchist looters, and mobs that burn down Democrat run cities, I do not tolerate any extreme violence, defending all Americans, even those who oppose and attack me, which is not true, but is what I will always do as your president. Governor Whitmer, open up your state, open up your schools, and open up your churches. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Parker, but it was very similar rhetoric like this that fomented all this Governor Whitmer hate that really started in April when Trump went hardcore at her during the lockdowns in Michigan, which I believe, from what I've been reading, really sparked this idea from these individuals in this militia to plot a kidnapping.
Yeah, he tweeted in all caps, "Liberate Michigan," and that was the mess. Like people, I don't like I am a nobody, and I try to be careful about like the things I tweet into the world because I'm afraid of like if anyone will be influenced by them. But like if you're like the president, you got to be careful. I mean that like I'm looking at the thread now. I had to open up an incognito window because I'm still blocked by Trump's account. Um, and it's nuts. I mean, I don't know. Like I don't it just seems so bizarre that any of this is real. And I guess that's really a great way to kind of just think about 2020 in general
Right.
is how is any of this real? And I mean I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that we got to a point where you know the the fringiest of right wing like media have shaped reality to this point. And so now
Right.
we're all living in this like hell world that they've kind of crafted for us.
Right, right. I mean, a week
Good
from now,
times.
a week from now, we should be watching. We should have been watching a presidential debate, number two, with Biden and Trump. But the debate, because of this little problem where the president contracted coronavirus, sort of changed the plans, and they wanted to hold like a Zoom or like an over, a remote sort of a debate, and Trump refused because, God forbid he's got to do what we've all been doing for the past 6 months, living remotely pretty much. And so, there's apparently not going to be a debate next week. And I think, that's he can't even imagine having to do what we're all living through because of him and his administration's incompetence.
Yeah, it's God, like I'm just thinking about how like in this sort of situation, it's like it's like celebrities have like big mansions and stuff, and like we're all in apartments, and, kind of like hold away like in these tiny little spaces for months at a time. Eh, eh, people don't realize how good they have it. Like I realize, like, hey, I'm in an apartment where I have a spare bedroom that I use as my office where I'm working right now.
Oh, I'm
Um,
extremely jealous of you right now. I have no idea.
yeah, getting a two bedroom instead of a one bedroom was a great idea. On my wife's part, basically, because I was going to be like, oh no, we can just like convert something to no. It's you need to have a separate office. Otherwise, especially since like
keep, keep,
she's been out of work, um,
keep on
since
rubbing. Keep on
since
keep on rubbing in that home office, Parker.
yeah, no, it rules. But yeah, it's like she's been out of work since January, and she started like selling her art and stuff online, which has been kind of interesting and fun. And she probably didn't expect when she started that, she probably didn't expect to be making masks and selling them, but here we are. Um, but yeah, no, the second bedroom has kind of saved both of us from a little bit of a craziness, I think, because otherwise we would all be in the living room while I work through the day and she does her art.
All right, well,
So,
that'd be pretty cool to look over your shoulder and see some masks in production.
yeah, well, she'll walk into like the office while I'm working, and like have just like I don't know, like today on my computer I always have like the weirdest right wing like windows open. It was like that I had like a picture of James O'Keefe and that like pimp outfit he wore on Fox and Friends back in 2009. um Another one was like a bunch of Proud Boys stuff that was up on my screen the other day because I was researching for an article. Or the most embarrassing one was the time I had like five like Ben Garrison cartoons all lined up because I was researching something from based on his comics, which are totally insane.
Yeah, talk about living in a different reality, right? I mean,
Right? Yeah, where Trump
it's
is like this like ripped like muscular dude, and
right. He's
his latest one has Kamala Harris debating Mike Pence, but she has a like hammer and sickle on her like on
I,
her plexiglass thing, which is okay.
I mean, I wish.
Yeah, sometimes it's like I wish that like when conservatives are like, oh, all Democrats care about is like trans bathrooms and socialism, and I'm like, dude, where is this reality? I
I,
I wish I wish they were half as interested in some of these topics, but
yeah, give it to me. I mean, please
yeah,
run that ticket, Parker. Thank you so much for joining me today. Ladies and gentlemen, Parker Molloy of Media Matters for America. Always a pleasure. Love when you come on. Feel free right now. You have the floor. Plug anything, mention anything that you want to mention, whatever your cool things you're working on, whatever
sure,
you'd like. Or Twitter
sure.
accounts, social media accounts, whatever. This is your floor.
Here we go. So you can follow me on Twitter at Parker Malloy, ParkerMolloy. Read my stuff at MediaMatters.org. And hey, check out my wife's art at tinywerewolves.com.
Sounds
That's it.
great. And you'll have to come back on when Trump, if Trump ends up back in the hospital.
Yeah, why not?
Have a good night, Parker. Thanks again.
Thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to go to the second half of the show. There's a few more questions in the YouTube chat that I'm going to get to. I've not missed you guys. The super chats, you could still send in your super chats. The show is going on. We still got another 30 minutes. Before we go to the second half, I did a call yesterday. I did a post-debate show with Kate of Reply Guys podcast, the post-vice presidential debate show. And I did a call for Patreon subscribers afterwards. And I don't know what I did differently, but there was a real, an amazing thing happened. It was the push that my mom needed to apparently become a Patreon subscriber. So my mom is now a patron. I need to hold a focus group with her, like I said on Twitter, so I could find out what was it that I said that finally pushed her over the edge, so I can repeat that and get more Patreon subscribers. But so right now I'm gonna attempt to repeat what I did yesterday, and it's the truth though what I said. It wasn't a marketing ploy or anything, folks. Patreon.com/MattBinder to support this show and help keep it growing. We have been on an upwards trajectory. There have been some bumps along the way, slow starts and things like that, especially during the beginning of the pandemic. But we've been on an upward trajectory. And then all of a sudden this month hit and we sort of stalled. I hope everyone's okay. I hope nothing. We lost a bunch of patrons at the beginning of the month when Patreon starts to charge and people have to drop out. And I totally get it. And, a lot of people reached out to me and listen, if you cannot afford to do so, please take care of yourself, your family. Do not give me Patreon money, whatever. But if A, you enjoy the show and like to see more, like to see it grow, and B, can afford to do so, then patreon.com/MattBinder. Everything you guys give me goes back into the show. Any upgrades I did, for example, I saved up for this camera. I actually have new lights I'm going to set up. The next thing is a new mic. Parker had a great mic. Next thing is a new mic. I would like to get an entire, not use a USB mic. I'd like to use a higher quality XLR microphone. You guys would hear the big difference there. And that's next on the list. Also, more content. To me right now, the biggest thing I think that I need to do, and I've been saying this, but it's quite clearer than it's ever been before. I need to just find time to do these YouTube clips, short versions of this. I put out this show. It's a podcast that I live stream. It's long. It's for people who like to listen to long form content. That's a separate audience. I got you guys. And you guys listen, and there's more of you out there, obviously. But there's also the short form people who love those 2 to 7-minute YouTube videos. I'm coming for you guys next. And with Patreon support, I'll be able to find time to do that and produce more content. So once again, patreon.com/MattBinder. You could support the show also by subscribing to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/MattBinder. You might be watching on Periscope right now or Twitch. I simultaneously multicast this stream to multiple places. Go to YouTube, youtube.com/MattBinder. Subscribe. If you're on Twitch, twitch.tv/MattBinder. Go there, subscribe or follow, whatever it is on there. Follow me on Twitter @MattBinder, on Instagram @MattBinder, which I'm getting more active on there. Wherever you are on social media, search Matt Binder and I'll come up. Doomedpod.com. That's doomedpod.com for the audio version of this show. It goes up shortly. It usually goes up a day after the live stream, just so I could have time to do some small editing in terms of fixing sound levels. I don't really edit anything out unless there's technical difficulties that take up too much time. From the audio, you guys don't want to listen to the technical difficulties. Otherwise, it's the exact same show, but for people who like podcasts better than YouTube live streams. You go to iTunes, Google Play, leave a review. You could also hit me up and tell me who you'd like to see on this show. You could DM me wherever you are on social media. DMs are open. Also, tell your favorite podcasters and YouTubers that you would like to see me on their show, if obviously you'd like to see me on their show. If you think that me going on your favorite YouTuber show will ruin their show, then I get if you don't want to really, suggest that I come on. It's cool. I get it. Otherwise, you can catch me on this show right here on YouTube, Twitch, and at doomwithpod.com. And also, for those of you who don't know, I have been doing, I guess you can call it, a residency at the Majority Report with Sam Cedar, hosting the fun half of the show on Thursdays with the MR crew, which is Jamie Peck, Matt Leck, and Brendan Finn. And that's been a lot of fun. Sam Cedar is back to hosting the first half of Thursdays. We were doing a really nice Michael Brooks archive show for a while to give it up for the great content he put out. But Sam is now back, being that the show is now on Peacock, the NBC streaming network. The first hour with Sam is on the streaming network Peacock, which is pretty cool. So yeah, you can catch me in the Majority Report Thursdays at the second hour. Other than that, folks, we're going to go into the second half of the show right now, where we'll get more questions, comments, stories. Otherwise, if you're not sticking around in the stream, see you all next time on Doomed. We're back. Well, I'm back. There is no we. It's just me. Hey, everybody. So, always love when Parker's on. We always go long when Parker's on, which is preferable, to be honest, because love talking with Parker. But that means that, the second half, the second half's still going to be good. And I always say, I'm not going to do a full second half of the show. Members understand. I gave you guys tons of content. I'm doing the Majority Report once a week. I'm doing these debate shows every week now, so you guys are getting bonus extra content. And then I'm doing the regular show. And then I go, so you guys will understand if I do a short members only show. And then I go ahead and actually end up doing like friggin' an hour and 15 minutes extra, which I'm going to try not to do now because I don't know if I could do it and give you guys that much content. But I'm going to give you guys a regular sized members show. Like 30 minutes to 45 minutes will go. Probably 30. Let's go straight to the super chats waiting. You could just go to youtube.com/MattBinder, drop a super chat right in there, give as much as you'd like, but just by submitting it as a super chat, it's guaranteed that I'm going to read it because, sometimes the YouTube chat goes too fast and I can't get to everyone's chats. Midnight Pizza Man with a super chat. Tim Pool blames the left and social justice warriors, SJWs, for being single. Do you blame the right for being married with kids? I do. They kept pushing the whole idea of a nuclear family, something I previously was adamantly against. They kept feeding me propaganda about the 1950s man going off to work, kissing the wife and kids goodbye as he takes his briefcase to the car and drives off to work. And then he comes home to an already made dinner and the kids playing in the backyard. And I was like, never before did I want this, but the right wing keeps showing me this, and really, it's really tickling my fancy. This is what I want. So yes, I blame the right for having kids. Yes. No, but it's funny you bring up Tim Pool, because Tim Pool has now been a topic of conversation today on Twitter and on the Majority Report. We played a clip of Dave Rubin, and we were talking about some of these reactionaries on the Majority Report earlier today. And I brought up how, there's someone who, and this isn't the first time I brought Tim Pool up. In fact, if you go back to the archives of the show, some of the earlier episodes, at least one I can think off the top of my head, which was one of the longest solo episodes I did of the show. I think it was like 2.5 hours long, where I played the episode of the Joe Rogan Experience when Tim Pool was on, so he could basically debate Jack Dorsey of Twitter. And so I went through that entire video to basically debunk all of Tim Pool's claims, because Tim Pool doesn't know what he's talking about. So yeah, go back and check that out. I think there might have been 1 or 2 more episodes about Tim Pool, but that one is the one that stands out to me. So I brought up Tim Pool on the show because it's really been unnerving to me how he's sort of flying under the radar. And I said that on Twitter, and everyone's like, flying under the radar? This guy goes on Joe Rogan. What are you talking about, Matt? No, I know he goes on Joe Rogan. Like I just said, I did a whole episode about one of his Joe Rogan appearances. When I mean fly under the radar, I mean the people who talk about and research and write about and report on right-wing reactionary movements, the online rabbit holes that push people to the further fringes on the right. We hear about Joe Rogan, we hear about Dave Rubin, we hear about Ben Shapiro, PragerU, so many of these different Stefan Molyneux we used to hear about, but he's not on YouTube anymore. Sargon of Akkad, same thing. All these folks always come up, but Tim Pool is never really focused on. Maybe he'll be mentioned along with all them, but the focus is usually on the Shapiros and the Molyneux and the Alex Jones and those types. But I don't know if you guys know this, but Tim Pool has been building this huge network of YouTube channels. He's got 4 channels right now. One of them's got over 1 million. One of them almost has 1 million. One of them has something like 750,000 subscribers. And one of them, the one he sort of barely doesn't use as much, has 150,000 subscribers. So all in all, he's got millions of subscribers across these channels. And you might be thinking, all right, whatever. So he's got one main channel and a couple he ignores. No. He puts out multiple videos a day on 3 out of 4 of those channels. And each one of them is bringing in hundreds of thousands. I don't mean exactly 100,000. No, I mean anywhere from 250,000 to 750,000 views within 24 hours. Go back a little further in the archives and you see videos hitting 1 million views all the time on each one of these 3 channels. And when I mean multiple pieces of content every day, I don't mean he's putting out 1 or 2 content daily on each channel. No. I'm talking 3 to 7 new videos every day on each of these channels. It is astounding how much content he's putting out. And he is without a doubt, in my mind, one of, if not the biggest, the most successful types of this sort of right-wing YouTuber on the platform. And listen, he's not being completely ignored. Someone pointed out the Surfs always do an episode every week where they look at a Tim Pool clip, and that's great. I'm glad the Surfs are great. I've been on an episode of the Surfs. I gotta have the Surfs on here. I think they're fantastic. But what I mean when flying under the radar and being ignored, I don't mean just show a clip and we talk about it. And I mean, we gotta really focus on what he's doing here. And he's making this play where he's basically convinced a lot of young people that he is the most trusted source in news. He plays up this whole idea that he's really a liberal. He's really someone who is a liberal, who is just so disgusted by progressivism today that he's become a Trump supporter even though he's still a liberal. So that must make him Mr. Centrist, because obviously if you could support Trump but also be a liberal, you got to see things clearly and see both sides of the matter, and whatever your view is must be untainted by either side, which is bullshit. The dude is a right-winger. The grift is that he's a liberal who likes Trump. That's his whole shtick. If he was a pro wrestler, that'd be his gimmick. But in reality, this dude's a right winger. Look at all there's photos of him hanging out with white supremacists. Where's the photos of him hanging out with leftists? They don't exist because he's not ever going out hanging out with leftists because he's not a leftist. Honestly, I think there's got to be and sort I've always I've said this on the Majority Report the other day, and I've thought this for a long time. I've probably said it on this show and other shows. The left is not as good at this as the right quite yet. The left can't meme, that's bullshit. The left is way funnier. What I'm talking about is the digital strategy, and I hate to use those type of words because they always come and go, oh, my brand, and you sound like a startup dumbass, like one of those tech idiots, those tech gurus, the ones who try to sell you, the one page, never ending sales pitch where it's like, yeah, just for 10 easy payments of $199.99, we'll teach you how to be rich like me. That Ty Lopez shit that was all over YouTube a couple of years back. Look at my car. It brings up that, but no, we should get on board with what's making the right so successful at gaming these algorithms. And the Gravel Institute, I think it's Gravel, right? I always say Gravel. The two teens who propelled Mike Gravel to a primary, they're doing something really cool where they have set up a new project, which is basically going to be the PragerU of the left, which is a great idea, and it's something that really is needed. But to me, the thing missing from their and this isn't a knock on them. This is something that maybe I'll reach out to them and talk to them about it because I want their thing to be successful because I think it's a great idea. And obviously, they have the infrastructure and the financial support to do this and pull it off because PragerU's content is pretty, it's well produced. It's the animators and there's a lot goes into it. It's not like the Tim Pool video where he's sitting in front of a camera like I am and just talking like I am. They're gonna. What's gonna be missing from their project is the backbone that the right wing digital media sphere has. They have this network where they help each other out and constantly churn out shares for other people's stuff. And of course, I'm sure there's money being swapped. They're not doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They wanna. It's a business to them too. I mean, that's mainly what it is for them. It's their way of making money. But they this is what's making them successful. They're gaming the algorithm. They're working together to do it. You can see there's been a lot of those like those maps put together that show how the channels intertwine. Like, the people who go watch Joe Rogan channel, they'll all be suggested these other videos, and then it goes out from there. That doesn't really happen with the left so much. And that's one of the major things that's missing. And maybe if everyone just takes like someone they're gonna focus on, and that's gonna be their specialty, and then maybe work together to constantly pull off what the right's doing and create like a web of this stuff going out, the left can finally compete on like Facebook and YouTube. Because we're getting hammered on Facebook and YouTube, and that's where so many people consume their media. For example, PragerU's being pilloried by the Gravel Institute guys. That's perfect. Michael Brooks would do Dave Rubin all the time, but I'm sure there's other people knocking Rubin. But like, I'm gonna focus on Tim Pool. I'm gonna become like a Tim Pool critic. I mean, I've already been doing episodes on him, like the 2.5 hour one I told you guys about. I'm just going to become a Tim Pool critic. The dude literally just sits in front of a camera, pulls up a news article, and reads it, and then shares his own opinion. Seems pretty simple. I could pull it off right now. I don't need a production team. I would probably need help churning out as much content as he does. I don't know if I could do 2 to 7 videos a day, but maybe I can get a few videos out a week. Yeah. Just thinking out loud. Thinking about loud. Thinking out loud. Grim says, imagine if Matt paid this much attention to the dirtbag anti-left. They're so small, man. They're not, as much as you think Chapo is and other like dirtbag left podcasts, and I just say Chapo. I don't even think Chapo is really all that dirtbag left. I know they're the ones who coined the term, but like 4 out of 5 of the people on Chapo are not, honestly, to be in my opinion. But it's small bore, man. I think you are in a bubble here where you think they matter. Like these, like, yeah, they're big podcasts, but among their own people. Folks like Tim Pool are brainwashing just regular Joe Schmoes who are logging onto YouTube to watch. I gotta get my current events. Want to know what's going on in the world? I'm not really in the political bubble. That's 100 times more dangerous and important, man. What are you talking about? And yeah, you're talking about like podcast world and Twitter, where Twitter is mainly like media people and political heads. Facebook and YouTube, where all like the normal everyday people are going on to get their like quick, they got maybe an hour each day to quickly update themselves on what's going on in the world. They're gonna watch a video, they're gonna read some Facebook articles. That's where it's at if you want to actually, bring people to your side. You're not preaching to the choir. You gotta step off the. I mean, it's obviously good to know what's going on in these worlds. I'm not saying to give it up, and you're completely wrong. But if you think the dirtbag left is more important than like Tim Pool being like one of the biggest YouTube personalities, listen, I actually recently covered a study from Pew Research for Mashable that said, and this shocked me even because I know how much YouTube has stifled independent media and when I mean independent media, I mean anyone who's not a major news organization. So independent media would cover, TYT and Kyle Kulinski and Sam Cedar, but it would also include people like Dave Rubin and Tim Pool and Ben Shapiro. There's a Pew Research study that found that something like a quarter of all Americans get their news from YouTube, which is astounding. That's a lot of people. And out of that amount, half of those people, a little less than half, it's like 47% of them, get their news from independent media. And I would guarantee you that something like 80% of that half are getting it from right-leaning sources and not the Majority Report and the Young Turks and Secular Talk. I mean, we really gotta realize that there's a problem here. And when I was talking before with Parker, top 5 stories on all U.S. Facebook pages in the past 24 hours were all from Dan Bongino's Facebook page. I would guarantee you that the number of people who clicked on those links from Dan Bongino's Facebook page in that 24-hour span is more people than listen to 2 weeks worth of Chapo Trap House podcasts. Not to knock Chapo. I mean, I wish I was as big as Chapo. So I'm just trying to get across how big Dan Bongino is relative to the dirtbag left. Like, we really got to step out of our bubble. Otherwise, we're going to have problems. I mean, why? Like, I'm in this shit all the time. Let's just like this. I honestly could see what's going on. I see it, and it's this is the truth here. We are if the left really wants to expand and grow, we can't look at our Twitter engagement and say all these political heads are into us. This is perfect. Because, yeah, the left's never been bigger and stronger. But at the same time, pull out and see the big picture, the wide angle. And we're losing on some big platforms where the majority of normal everyday people who could be swayed and become leftists are getting their news from right-leaning sources that have completely taken over these platforms. MR does have, Zoe says, okay, but MR almost has 1 million subscribers. At the same time, though, and I'm not knocking MR and Sam Cedar. I mean, I'm friggin' on the show. I mean, I worked there for 5 years and now I'm back on the show every week. Look at how many views the videos get. We're losing because we're not working together here. It's the truth. Any one YouTube channel on the left is not going to defeat or compete, I should say, with these right-wing networks. Crowder has over 4 million, right? Crowder's another one for sure. Crowder's another one, but I honestly, I think Tim Pool gets more views and engagement. Let me check on that. Tim Pool is putting out way more content. Crowder may have more subscribers, but honestly, subscribers doesn't matter as much as your view counts and your engagement. Yeah. Oh, wait. Tim Pool's getting way more views than this. You guys are going to be shocked. All right. Let me take the past 2 days. Okay. So Steve Crowder did a Pence debate post show. Okay. Or a live debate show. So that got him almost 1 million views. That's a special event. Let's put that aside. The day before, a 30-minute Steven Crowder episode, the one episode he put out that day, 2 days ago, got 328,000 views. Now let's look at Tim Pool's main YouTube channel, because that'd be the one that would compete. So Steve Crowder's main YouTube has 4 million subscribers. His show 2 days ago, because we're not counting the special debate episode, got 328,000 views. Tim Pool, on the other hand, on his main channel, Timcast, 1.14 million subscribers. So Steve Crowder's got almost 3 million more subscribers. And Tim Pool, on just that one channel, put out 2 days ago a video that got the same amount of views. On his channel with 3 million less subscribers, on just his one channel. Now, Steve Crowder has one channel. Tim Pool's got 2 more. Let's go to 2 more main ones, I should say. Let's go to his other channels. So I really wanted to drive home here what we're dealing with. So Timcast, his other channel, has almost 1 million subscribers. But 2 days ago, I'm going to go with the same time frame. The same day, 2 days ago, he put out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos compared to Steven Crowder's 1. Remember, Steve Crowder's 1 video, 328,000 views. Tim Pool's first channel with the most subscribers, same amount as Steve Crowder. Now, the secondary channel, 1 video, 326,000 views. That same day, another video, 291,000 views. That same day, another video, 323,000 views. That same day, another video, 243,000 views. That same day, another video, 331,000 views. Steve Crowder can't compete with that. Unless Steve Crowder started turning out multiple pieces of content a day, and I didn't even get to the third Tim Pool channel. Unless Steve Crowder starts churning out multiple pieces of content a day like Tim Pool does, Tim Pool is eating Steven Crowder's breakfast on YouTube. Eating Steven Crowder for breakfast. on YouTube. You have to also recall that Tim Pool is making a lot more money too, if that's the case. What Steve Crowder makes from that one video with 328,000 views, Tim Pool is doing what, 6 times that each day. So if Steve Crowder makes $1,000 from that video, Tim Pool's probably pulling in $6,000, give or take. Could do a lot more with that money. MW says, my parents love Dan Bongino. Yeah, I know. I want to go to the RNC. I want to sit with Dan Bongino. I love that song. Let's go to the next super chat. Renee, Melania wanted to make the Krampus a Christmas tradition, probably. I would be all into that, to be quite honest. Big fan of Krampus. I love that Halloween story. Good movie, too. Although I think the Krampus art, like the Krampus character that is in like the traditional art, looks cooler than the one in the movie. Samantha Sider with a super chat. Did you see Charlie Kirk pic with the leader of the kidnapper group? I did not. He took a pic with a member of the militia group that plotted to kidnap Michigan Governor Whitmer. I did not know about that. I did not know about that. Chris with the super chat says, when Ben Shapiro announced he was leaving California, he stated he had 100 people working for him. Is that a true statement? If true, that shows how money equals power. I mean, I don't know if 100 people work for him, but his podcast is really big. The podcast thing is a lot different than the YouTube audience. I mean, how big is Ben Shapiro's YouTube audience? Also, you have to remember Ben Shapiro has the Daily Wire, founded the Daily Wire, which I'm sure paid off and pays off, continues to pay off. But Ben Shapiro's YouTube channel, it's pretty big. He doesn't put out enough content though. Again, so Ben Shapiro's got 2 million subscribers, and 2 days ago he put out one video, which got 450,000 views. That's a good amount. He probably made a decent chunk of change off of that. Combine all of Tim Pool's channels and the videos they put out each day, it's a fraction of it. It's a fraction. Maybe it's a quarter of it. And again, we're talking about Ben Shapiro, probably one of the biggest figures in right-wing media. I mean, Ben Shapiro's got some big videos, but he just puts out 1 or 2 a day. So it takes a viral hit. Like, he's got one that I see that the one video alone that got 1.2 million views. Yeah, from 5 days ago. Another one with John Voight, interview with John Voight, that's got 500,000 views 4 days ago. But he's also, I mean, this is a guy who's got a really big platform, much bigger than Tim Pool. He's got like a really big podcast. Tim Pool's money definitely comes from the podcast, though. His podcast is super popular. It's in the top of the podcast charts. It's treated like an old school talk radio show. So he pulls in sponsorships and advertisers, which probably amounts for a lot more money than whatever he's pulling in from YouTube. Interestingly enough, the call for Patreon so far has not paid the dividends it did last night. It's getting late. I'll take a few more comments here and then we'll call it a night. Oh wait, There's some. Want to make sure I didn't miss out on anything here. Nathan says, to be fair, isn't Chapo still one of the most watched podcasts? They're the most subscribed to podcast on Patreon. But that just means that their supporters are, they have a big group of supporters. On podcast charts, let me pull up like the iTunes chart, which is still like the premier the premier way of charting shows. Let's go to top shows. Let's go to news and politics specifically. Where is it? Okay, news. Chapo. Let's see. So the top of news and politics is The Daily, which is the New York Times podcast. And then The Ben Shapiro Show at number 2. Dan Bongino at number 5. Charlie Kirk at number 10. Mark Levin at 12. Glenn Beck at 20. Let's see. Tim Pool at 37. Rubin at 43. Crowder at 44. Bill O'Reilly at 47. Chapo is at 51. So yeah, they're fairly big for one of these smaller, relatively smaller productions, shows. But they're the biggest. And they're at 51, specifically on the news and politics charts of iTunes. Well below Shapiro, Bongino, Megyn Kelly, Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh, Matt Walsh, Tim Pool, Rubin, Crowder, Bill O'Reilly. I mean, they're the biggest podcast that the left's got, for sure. But again, big picture, it kind of... It's not really comparative, especially when the left's got the one podcast at 51 and the right's got like 30 podcasts in the top 50. Dorian, what was your message? I'm not sure if I saw it. Drop it again, Dorian. Feel free to drop it again. Don't be shy. Another super chat from Rio or Rio. I'm sorry if I'm messing up your name. Hi, Matt. Regarding other leftist creators that you can collaborate with, may I suggest Christo Avelis. He actually produces multiple short videos each day. He's on YouTube and Patreon. I see him every now and then on Twitter. I'm going to put him on my list for sure. Seems like a good guy. I think I've watched like a video or two of his too. His name sounds very familiar. I know who you're talking about, I'm pretty sure. Turns out I'm exactly sure about who you're talking about. Yes, that is him. That is who I had him on. Yeah. It's a great suggestion, and I'm going to for sure, put him on the list. I feel like I'm Chris Jericho. You made the list. Zoe points out that Ryo dropped a super chat in Canadian dollars. I don't want any confusion. There are a lot of people on the left putting out daily content. I see people saying, but like this person puts out daily content. This person, of course, there's tons of great leftist channels putting out daily content. I'm saying that they're not all working together enough. That's that, and it's the truth. And this isn't like an attack. Everyone's got their own thing to worry about. I totally get it. But I think we should take some time to try to figure out how to work together just to drown out some of this right-wing stuff and push up all these other leftist channels I'm not even talking about mine. We could keep mine out of it too if anyone thinks I'm trying to get attention and promote my channel. If you don't want to promote my channel, totally cool. I'm saying other leftist channels, other big leftist channels should work together and try to push up each other's stuff to sort of game the algorithm just like the right does to drown out some of this stuff. Midnight Pizza Man with another super chat. Little Ben also has radio syndication, which shouldn't be discounted. Lots of conservative voices on terrestrial radio. Absolutely, Midnight Pizza Man. That's a great point. He's got syndication deals, so that's extra money. He's got the legitimacy being on like real radio. A lot of older people listen to radio for their news. So he's catching people on one end of the age demographic, and then he's catching people on YouTube and podcasts on the other side of the age demographic. Dorian says, the latest episode of I Don't Speak German, coincidentally about Tim Pool, shouted you out. Maybe you could collab with them. They do the same kind of investigating far-right influencers thing as you. I'm not familiar with them. What did they say about me? They shouted me out. That's great to hear. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you. But what did they say? I mean, I'm going to go back and listen, but I want to know on air so I could gloat and tout what they said about me on air. A little bit of news for you guys. At the end of this month, I don't think it's going to affect the shows at all, but it might. We are moving to a new apartment after 5 years here. Still going to be in Queens, but we got really lucky and found a good deal to bring up what I was talking about with Parker the other day. Found a good deal on a 2-bedroom apartment, which is an upgrade. You guys know that my family lives here with 2 kids with currently, they're small kids, so it's easier. I'm not like I got teenagers here. But we're in a 1-bedroom, and so it's difficult. It wasn't so hard, actually, in living in New York City before the pandemic, because, we were always out at work, and the kids are going to the park and hanging out with friends at the park, or after school, playing with friends after school. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But during the pandemic, these past 6-7 months, I'm very lucky to have a job, but it's been hard working from home. And everyone needs their space, and we got really lucky and found a good deal on a 2-bedroom. So we'll be moving. It's going to be chaotic with the elections and Halloween with the kids. But I don't think it's going to affect this show. I'm still going to put out the same content. But the good thing is, I think I'll finally be able to set up. As you guys know, I'm in the corner, like at the side of my, like in my apartment, there's like a nook when you walk in. And that's where I set everything up. And it goes right into like the living room and the kitchen. So this nook is where I'm set up. I will have like a dedicated little space where I can do more, I think. So that's good news. Matt moving up says, I got to tell you, we literally hit the jackpot in terms of getting lucky finding the place. And it's very close to what we're paying right now for a 2-bedroom. Very close to what we're paying right now for a 1-bedroom, but for a 2-bedroom. Like very close. Got very lucky. Teen Vogue says, scroll up. All right. Hey, Matt, what are your thoughts on focus groups not believing GOP policy positions when they are told what they are because they think the policies are so harmful they must be a lie? Hold on, I have to read that again. What are your thoughts on focus groups not believing GOP policy positions when they told what they are? Because they think the policies are so harmful they must be a lie. I don't know why I had trouble with that at first. I don't know what to think of that. I mean, people need to get with the program and realize what's going on here. I don't know what else to say. Um, yeah, it's that's baffling. It's baffling. Uh, the doomed nook, says MW. Yeah, I mean, I'm in a corner here. Like, you see this here. Let me turn off the green screen for a second. Giving you behind the scenes. Here we go. All right, see, you can see there's a stroller over here hanging up. So this is literally like a small. I don't know what this is supposed to be in this apartment. I guess if you were just like one or two people living in here, you'd put like a small dining room table in here. But right past that stroller is the living room, and then right next to the living room is the bedroom, and there's a bathroom there too. But that's it. That's the size of this apartment. So, I can't do shows. The news breaks at 2 p.m. on a Saturday and the kids are here. I can't do like, let me do like a 30-minute breaking news show. I can't. They're right here. I can't do it. I can't do it. It would mess up their schedule. I wouldn't be able to do. But if hopefully in this new apartment, if something happens, I could go into a separate room. Yeah, and on the other side, as Dank points out, my IKEA shelves over here, like the basket ones where you like pull it out like that. Got some cereal in there. And you'll also notice that my green screen doesn't take up the entire. Let me get back on the. Okay, got the white balance that for a second. The green screen doesn't take up the whole space. I got to figure something out about that. But luckily, this program I use could mask the edges. So it basically grabs the green screen and then just transposes that on the non-green screen space. But obviously, that's where my arm's cut off. But Hector says Michael Brooks dirtbag left. Michael Brooks was not the dirtbag left. Michael Brooks was internationalist left, I guess you can describe him. But unlike anyone who talks about international politics, it's funny as hell. Funny as hell. I think he was the funniest person on the left, to be quite frank. I mean, if I was him and I had that talent to be that funny like that, like he was quick, that's really what made him extra funny. That's what like really put him over. I would have probably went into a career in comedy first, and then used that celebrity you get from that to then push. But that's not where his heart was, so I get it. His heart was doing this right off the bat. But if he started out in comedy and then moved into this, he could have brought so many people. I think, but I think if he was still around and he didn't pass away. Shit, it's so fucking weird saying that. If he didn't pass away, I think he might have done more live shows that were comedic in nature, but obviously still covering politics. And I think that would have brought him a massive fan base. And I think he would have possibly been like one of the biggest personalities who discuss politics. I mean, he's so much funnier than any political comedian out there. Like Michael Brooks should have had the Daily Show. Michael Brooks should have had something like that. He so much funnier than any of these people, and so much smarter than any of these people. MW says Michael was adamant on the left not being a subculture. I listen. I don't know where his most recent opinions lied, but I know for the years I spent sitting next to him every day, we spoke about this all the time about how important it was to be entertaining when talking about this stuff, because it's what set the Majority Report and the Michael Brooks Show later on apart. You can't do straight news right now. There's too many eyeballs. You're competing with too many different content creators. You're dealing with the big studios. You're dealing with the cable networks. You're dealing with the broadcast networks. You're dealing with the streaming networks like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and HBO Max. You're dealing with all the YouTube creators, the TikTok creators, the professional YouTube creators, like the companies, the full-on production companies who do YouTube. Then you're dealing with the YouTube influencers, who are just like solo people who have created a business on YouTube. And then you're dealing with those same groups on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, yada, yada, yada. Continue. If you're not entertaining in some way to some audience doing this, if you're just doing straight news and you don't have all the money in the world to like break stories and have exclusives like that, then you ain't going to compete. And I had this conversation with Michael over and over again, and we set out to do, funny, entertaining, yet serious news. And Michael, I think, found the perfect combination of the two, and he pulled it off perfectly. So I don't know if you want to call it a subculture, but that's what we talked about, and that's what he did. Of course, there's always substance to it. I mean, you could do comedy and have substance to it. Right. All right. Let's, what was this? Taibbi, that's another story. I mean, he's someone whose previous work I really respect. But I don't know what's going on with him right now. Someone shouted out Cody Johnson of Some More News, who's great. Karen says Halloween will suck this year. Last year's MR was hilarious. Right. I mean, it's not going to have the same without, yeah. All right, guys. I think. Oh wait, there's one more super chat. I don't leave the super chats. Super chats come first all the time. Never gonna lose you guys. Zoltar basically just dropped a hype hippo sticker. Thank you, Zoltar. I appreciate that. All right, folks. That's the show for today. I know you guys are still talking in the chat. There's so much more to talk about. But we're bringing up Gamergate now. Why you guys gotta do this to me? Gamergate's like, that's my bread and butter right there. I'm gonna like jump right into this, but I can't. I gotta pause. We'll bring up Gamergate next episode. I promise. But I'll read this one. Nathan says, not a hot take, but Gamergate was truly the worst thing to happen to the internet and especially YouTube. And with that, I'll just say, I warned you all years and years ago. Sam Cedar has gone on national television and cited me as warning him. And he didn't listen, and you all, well, not you all, but some of you didn't listen, including Sam Cedar. Yeah. Did the same with QAnon. If you guys listened to my first QAnon episode 2 years and 10 months ago, almost 3 years ago, you guys would have known about QAnon before everybody else, years before everybody else. So there's a few other things too where that comes into play. Last week I had David Bixenspan talk about that anti-child trafficking charity that is fooling the WWE, and it's the one anti-trafficking charity to fully embrace QAnon. Like all the legit organizations are saying QAnon is harmful to our cause. They're harming the actual work that we do to stop child sex trafficking. But this group has been fully embracing it. Did an episode on them last week with David Bixenspan. Just today it was announced they're under criminal investigation. I will lead you. I will never lead you guys astray. I will make sure you guys are in on what's going on before most people. I'm not gonna always say I'm the first, but before most people are talking about it, I will bring you guys there and make sure you are in the know. All right, guys. I'm going to read this one. Zoltar says, "You were so right." I love it. I'll take it. Folks, see you all. Thanks again for a great show tonight. And I will see you all next time on Doomed.